Well, Chief Justice John Roberts capping the Supreme Court's tumultuous year with his year-end report with one main focus, the need for better judicial security. And it comes after the leak ahead of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Of course, that sparked protests all around the country and even protests outside the home of justices like Amy Coney Barrett, a man arrested outside of Brett Kavanaugh's home with a plan to kill him. And all of this as threats against public officials in all level of government are intensifying. So let's bring in now Jeff James, retired assistant special agent in charge with the U.S. Secret Service. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time, Jeff. So the Chief Justice, spent a lot of his report comparing the threats against justices in 2021 to the political climate after the Brown versus Board of Education decision all the way back in 1954. Do you feel like that's a fair comparison?
I do in one regard, but in another regard, I will tell you that from 2016 to 2021, there were over 4,000 threats and attacks on judges nationwide. So I would say that while this moment may seem seminal to the justices, we've seen these attacks on justices throughout time.
And noting that, I mean, is there anything to indicate that threats against the justices have subsided at all?
Nothing that I've seen. The biggest part to this is just what Justice Roberts said. They can't work out of fear. And that was one of the things we said in the Secret Service. The president couldn't be afraid to walk down the street because he had made a significant decision. And it has to be the same thing with the justices. They need to be able to go by the rule of law and not have in the back of their mind being worried about if someone's going to try to kill them because they rule in one way or another.
Absolutely. You're saying that they can't work out of fear. The Chief Justice focusing so much of his report on this. Jeff, do you expect to see similar threats or risks targeting the justices in 2023? Do you expect to see these threats increase potentially?
I don't know if it'll increase, but I certainly don't see it subsiding. With the climate now and the ease that people have in being able to find out where the justices live, and not just the Supreme Court justices, but every judge in the United States, it's easy to find out where these men and women live. I don't see it subsiding, and like I said, just with the climate now of the way people aren't afraid to use violence for their cause.
Last question for you. So there's this newly signed law granting the justices enhanced protection. Do you feel that this law does enough? And if not, what more needs to be done?
Well, I feel it does do enough if it's staffed properly. One of the things, and I've said this on your show before, one of the things about protection is that it's expensive and it takes manpower. So if it's staffed properly and funded properly, it can certainly be effective, but we're going to need to make sure that between the Supreme Court police and the U.S. Marshals that it's done correctly.
Absolutely. Very excellent points there. All right, Jeff James, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.